Welcome to computer programming. We're going to get started with Python, programming in Python. We'll start with idle today. But first, a little bit of backstory, a little bit of information about Python and how it is used, why it is used, and is it a good program moving forward, why we decided to choose it. So, first thing to know, Python is what we call a high-level language. As we program in Python, we'll notice a lot of the words that we're using are going to be English or they're going to be near English. So we'll see things like print and while and for, common words. We'll even use things like rand for random and int for integer. So we'll see a lot of these words that are very close to English. And Python's not alone as the only high-level language. Things like Java, JavaScript, C++, they also are what we consider high-level languages. The code that you use is near English-like. There are low-level languages, I mean the lowest of which being you could program in binary, that is a possibility, but that would be considered a low-level language. Python as a whole, it has grown globally. It's been picked up by Google, IBM, Microsoft, Verizon. It is used a lot in managing data. If you enjoy this class, you enjoy working with Python, you can, as you move to college, you could program in Python in college and then in the workplace. So it is something that could have a direct impact to a career if you so choose. Part of the reason we decided to go with Python is one, it is a little bit on the easier side to learn because it is a high-level language, but also because it does have the ability to do, as in bullet point 3, object-oriented approach. So we will, in the second semester, towards the end, get to something called object-oriented programming, which, if you can grasp, it is a tough skill, don't get me wrong, but it does open up a huge realm of possibilities. A lot of very complex programs use this object-oriented approach, and once you can understand and wrap your mind and learn how to use object-oriented programming, use these classes and objects, pretty much the world is your oyster then. You can do about whatever you want. Lastly, big thing for Python is it's free and it's quick and easy to download and use. There's no need for an interpreter or a compiler or a special environment. If you just go to Python's website, you can download it and you're up and running. We should, at this point, if you're using the district's laptops, already have it downloaded and be golden there. If not, you just go to python.com and be able to download that software for free. Also the most up-to-date software. So that being said, when we're going to program, we'll be programming in idle. It's the environment within Python we'll be using. You may have heard of other environments such as Visual Studio's Eclipse and PyCharm. They're just other places or environments that you could type your code into and then run your code. As the year progresses, we'll sort of make our switch over to PyCharm. But for starting out, idle is going to be just fine. In fact, idle even has two different modes, the interactive mode or the shell, as it might be called, and the script mode. And we'll see both those here in just a second, and we can sort of see how one is more beneficial than the other. But they both can have their uses. So all this being said, let's jump into Python. So if you go to your computer, assuming you have it downloaded, in that search, you can search for idle. Now, I have two different versions of Python, 3.6 and 3.8, and depending on when you watch this video, maybe you're at 3.9. But if we click on idle 3.8, we should get, let me bring it over here, a window that looks like this. This is what we call that interactive or that shell mode. So we can type one line at a time. We can type some numbers. We can even do some simple math here. This is the shell. It runs one line at a time. So I can make a simple statement here. World, if I could spell, that'd be helpful. I can do a simple one line at a time, run my script. It could be useful in testing code out, testing small snips of code, but really it's only designed for small pieces of code to be run at once. Now, with that being said, if you wanted to type multiple lines in what we call the script mode, we're going to click on File, New, and when you do that, you're going to get a blank screen like this. But what this allows us to do is we can now type in multiple lines at once. So you can type in multiple lines, write your whole program, and then we can execute it or run it all at once. So the way we're going to run our program, let's just start with that hello world. The way we're going to run our program is File, Run. But before we run our program, we need to first make sure it's saved. So I'm going to go Save As. I'm making this say hello world, so I'll save my file as hello world. But here's an important part about this class, and I'm going to highly encourage everybody who's programming, whether it be on your own, a new language, or Python here, to make a folder like I've done here. I've called this computer programming. Make a folder that you store all your code in. So everything we code, we're going to store. So I already got a couple of things saved there. So I'm going to save this file, this hello world file, in my, if I could, there we go, into programming 1. And I'm also going to save it, the file name, I'm going to give it a name that makes sense to what the program's also doing. So this is hello world because we're printing hello world. So now that it's saved, I can now run my program, run the module, and when we run the module, we get it to say hello world. So we started in the script mode. We wrote our code, our one line of code, we saved it, we ran it, and it executed in the shell, or in the interactive mode. Oh, that's the wrong one. It ran over here. There's where it ran. So we just made our first program. Now, that being said, hello world, there's a lot of big things happening here that I think we should address to start out with. First off, print is a powerful statement. We're going to use it throughout the year. It is immensely important. It's used for just basic communications. It's used for displaying instructions. It's used for debugging. It is probably going to be the function you're going to use the most throughout this course. So to use the print command, it's simple enough. It's the word print. Note it is all lowercase. If you type it correctly, it should change color. In this case, my settings have it changed to purple, so it recognizes it's that special function. If you happen to use an uppercase P in print, it doesn't turn purple. You know you typed it wrong. So lowercase p. After that word print, we're going to have a set of parentheses. So print is what we're going to be putting onto the screen, what we want to execute. So what we want to put in print on screen has to be inside this set of parentheses. Inside those parentheses, I'm going to put a quotation mark. It does not matter if it's a single or a double quotation mark. This is doesn't matter if it's single or double quotation mark. They both work. So I could have a print, and then my statement I want printed. A print, and then a statement I want printed. Once they're both typed, I can run them. It's going to ask to be saved again because we've already saved it. And there we go. Hello world. This is some text. And our function worked. So maybe if we can put these side by side, we can see these in action just a little bit more. We can try it one more time. Again, lowercase print. We have our parentheses. Inside those parentheses, we can make it a... Now do note, what I done on this third line, notice I started with a double parenthesis and I ended with a single parenthesis. In order to use our quotation mark, I start with a double quotation mark, end it with a single. To open and close the quotations, they need to be the same one. If you notice, in the first and second line, those parentheses, start and close, are black. In this third line, they start black, but this last parenthesis is not black. It's sort of indicating to us, hey, something's not quite right. And in fact, if we happen to run it, we're going to get this error. EOL while scanning string literal. Really what that means is we didn't end this line correctly. We didn't end this line correctly. It's telling us, Python's sort of telling us in its own way, Oh, we should have put that double parenthesis, the double quotation. File, run, save, and there we go. Final state. I encourage you to try, make your own print commands, see if you can make some words. Maybe you can print some symbols to make some sort of art, but congratulations, you have just made your first program. We will, as we move forward, use print more and more and get into the different things that print can do and how it can be useful. But I encourage you to test things out, and I look forward to working more with you. Take care.